The last time I gave someone a lift on Western Australia's Great Northern Highway, the police log marked me missing for 31 hours even though I never left the desert. I was ferrying a customer's dual cab Hilux from Perth up to Port Hedland, 1,200 kilometers of scrub, roadhouses and radio silence. My old uni mate Tessa Larkin, a junior geologist on fly-in fly-out contracts, called the night before. Her charter flight to Newman had been scrubbed by fog, and she was stranded in Woburn with 2 duffels of core sampling gear. She asked if I could swing past and drop her at the exploration camp turn-off near Kungarina. Free fuel money, company on the haul, why not? I collected her at dawn outside the Woburn Roadhouse. She still wore orange high-vis overalls, thick, dusty boots, and a grin that made the morning coffee tolerable. We shoved her bags behind the seats, tuned the CB, and rolled north into red dirt infinity. By noon, the heat shimmered silver. Between Mount Magnet and Nikathara, we counted exactly 4 oncoming vehicles in 90 minutes. Around 1:40 p.m., a white Land Cruiser with amber hazard lights idled on the shoulder, bonnet up. A man in khaki work gear waved us down with a fluorescent triangle. Tessa muttered, "Road patrol?" I slowed beside him. He leaned at my window late 30s, dust-caked boots. Our RDIO earpiece informed us a livestock trailer had flipped 20 kilometers ahead, and traffic was being routed onto an old mine service track paralleling the highway. He held a laminated badge reading Pilbara Safety Escort. Said convoy would depart once 5 vehicles queued. Behind him, 2 sedans already waited, engines off. My phone showed 0 bars. CB crackled with nothing but skip. The detour shaved no distance, and the badge looked legit. I eased into line 3rd position, Tessa scanning maps on her tablet. "That track isn't marked," she whispered. I shrugged. The Outback's full of unmarked spurs. When 5 vehicles gathered, the Land Cruiser pulled ahead, amber strobes blinking. We followed single file onto a graded dirt lane between mulga scrub. Dust boiled behind us, cutting sightlines. 10 minutes in, the Land Cruiser radioed something. Both sedans ahead braked. A marshal in the lead truck flagged the first car aside, motioning driver and passenger to step out for tire pressure check. They complied, stretching cramped legs. I watched in nearer as the marshal guided them behind a clump of spinifex, and they didn't reappear. Unease needled my spine. Tessa tapped my shoulder, low voice. His badge logo is outdated by 5 years. She Googled it earlier. I inched forward as ordered, keeping engine idling high. A second marshal waved for windows down. When he stepped close, I smelled disinfectant, too clinical for roadside dust. "Quick inspection, mate," he said, eyes sweeping the tray. He asked me to kill the engine. I kept it running. Tessa slid her phone between seat cushions and thumbed a voice memo record. Behind us, Land Cruiser doors slammed. I saw the first sedan being reversed off the track by someone new behind its wheel. Original occupants nowhere. My heart kicked hard. The marshal's hand rested near a holstered stun baton. Tessa leaned out, cheerful. "Hey, any chance you've seen Drill Rig Key 17's crew?" "We're overdue." The marshal blinked, thrown by her confidence. I jammed the clutch, dropped into first, and floored it. Gravel spat like hail. The Helix fishtailed past him. In mirrors, I watched him fumble for his radio. The track knifed through scrub with no turnouts. Tessa spotted a weather-beaten sign, Old Wailuna Pastoral Lease, and pointed to a barely visible service gate. I yanked the wheel. The ute bounced over a cattle grid onto faint twin ruts. Branches slapped paint. Behind, engines revved. Gust cloud ballooned with chasing lights. We barreled until the ruts vanished into a dry creek bed choked by ghost gums. I killed the motor under branches, Engine ticking. Tessa grabbed her duffel, extracted a laser rangefinder, flipped it to infrared, and scanned back through trees. 2 spots of heat ghosted along the track, unsure which spur we'd taken. We hiked the creek's bend, kneeling beneath a rock shelf. Flies buzzed, heat pressing like a weight. Tessa whispered that legends among FIFO workers talk about escort crews, who divert lone cars, traffickers, hunting organ matches, or forced labor for illegal digs. Everyone treats it like camp gossip until someone vanishes between fuel stops and police blame desert disorientation. A distant engine idled, then faded. We waited 10 minutes before moving. Uphill, the creek opened onto an abandoned prospecting camp. 3 corrugated sheds, a rusted water tank, satellite dish bent sideways. The dish offered a hope. Old battery pack may be salvageable for a brief call. Inside the comm shed, we found a generator the size of a fridge. Fuel gauge recorder. I pulled starter cord. It coughed to life, kicking dust. Tessa hot-wired the dusty sat phone cradle. LEDs blinked amber then green. She dialed 00, requested Mikathara police, and keyed coordinates. Static nearly drowned her voice, but she repeated armed imposters. Land cruiser. Livestock crash is fake. Generator drone probably carried across half the basin. We doused it, hurry packed. From the shed doorway, I saw dust pluming our creek spur convoy approaching slow hunting mode. We sprinted behind tanks toward a mesh fence. A decades-old conveyor belt formed a makeshift bridge across a sinkhole. Halfway over, Blanks groaned but held. Shots popped compressed air launcher. Not firearm plastic darts, thwacked iron behind us. We dove into spinifex, crawled until thorns scraped helmets. Minutes dragged. Footsteps crunched decking, paused, retreated. One man muttered, "Signal trace pinged here, find the phone." Boots stomped inside sheds. Sun sagged crimson when the imposters finally withdrew, engines heading south, satisfied perhaps no witnesses remained. We waited until stars prickled out, then hiked northwest by Tessa's compass, aiming for the real highway. At 1 o'clock, high beams loomed a triple road train hauling ore. We flagged, filthy and shaking. Driver Mick let us climb the catwalk, radioed ahead. 40 kilometers later, we met 2 police line cruisers. Officers listened tight-lipped, drove us to Mikathara. They'd already found the sedan drivers, zip-tied, but alive abandoned near the false detour start. No trace of the escort crew or their swamp-cooled quarry site. Next day, detectives photographed our helix, still hidden under ghost gums. A forensics team recovered disinfectant wipes, dart casings laced with sedatives, and GPS jammers. Media reported suspected vehicle theft syndicate foiled by quick-thinking motorists. No mention of organ rumors. No link to other disappearances along the A-class highways. Tessa's company flew her to camp by helicopter. I delivered the helix a day late. Client didn't care once paint scratches buffed out. Weeks later, a letter arrived from Wai'at police thanking me for cooperation case ongoing. Attached was a safety bulletin. Beware unverified roadblock escorts. Confirm incidents with 138 main roads lined before compliance. Now, whenever I spot hazard strobes in desert nothingness, the legend of escort hunters feels brutally real, and my thumb stays off the indicator. The Outback has kilometers enough to hide an army, and for an unlucky ride seeker, all the time in the world for their signal to vanish in red dust static. When people in Fort William warn you never to hitch south after dusk because the shadow vans hunt the A2, and they're half joking. half testing whether you're near enough to believe the Highlands still keep highwaymen. I laughed at the story my first night. 3 days later, I found myself on the shoulder at Coran Ferry Junction, thumb out, cold rain needling my jacket. Praying the only driver who stopped wasn't one of those vans. I'd come to Scotland for a freelance drone survey gig over Glencoe, sharing rooms with my graphic designer cousin, Lucy McPherson, who'd taken a week off to sketch the peaks. A freak gust grounded half our kit in Lochleven, and the replacement rotors were waiting in Glasgow. Rental car repairs would take 48 hours, so Lucy suggested hitching to Crianlarich, catching the next train, and returning with the parts before sunrise. The autumn daylight already felt brief and brittle. I'd packed a dry bag, Lucy packed her sketch folio, and we promised my project manager we'd backhaul footage by the weekend. We scored a lift within 10 minutes. A silver VW camper, driven by a cheery German couple who were chasing distilleries. They dropped us outside Crianlarich just after 4, daylight draining to pewter. Timetables at the tiny station flickered the bad news. Signal outage, all southbound trains, indefinitely delayed. The ticket clerk offered no buses, only a shrug. With drizzle thickening into steady rain, Lucy and I debated doubling back. Then a white transit van with a rental agency sticker eased into the lay-by. The driver was maybe mid-40s, shaved head, wearing a fleece embroidered with a courier logo I half recognized. His accent was North English, polite, practiced. He said he was running parcels to a hub outside Glasgow, had space in back padded with cargo blankets if we didn't mind the smell of cardboard. He even showed us a work ID clipped to his visor. Martin Ray, Rapid Move Logistics. Lucy's face said coin toss, but the rain convinced us. We climbed into the passenger seats, wet jackets hissing against heater vents. Martin chatted about traffic cameras, whiskey tours, and how courier work keeps a man invisible. Lucy sketched the highway wipers in her notebook. 20 kilometers in, my attention snagged on the GPS suction cup to the dash. The route line wasn't pointing toward the M8. Instead, a side road entered Loch Lomond and the Trossachs forest. I nudged Lucy. She followed my glance. Ben asked Martin if he planned a shortcut. He smiled without taking eyes off the road. Hub changed drop spot to Balquidder. Easy 5-minute detour. Lucy Googled Rapid Move on low signal. The site wouldn't load. The van's odometer beeped. Martin tapped it silent. Rain turned to sleet. Roadside pines formed a tunnel. Phone coverage bled to 1 bar. Vanished. My stomach tightened. The same clench ID felt once when a demo drone lost GPS lock and drifted toward power lines. When a lay-by opened beside a forestry gate, Martin slowed, saying he had to check a crate tie down. He hopped down, sliding the side door with a hollow clang. I used the driver's side mirror to watch him rummage among boxes. Lucy whispered. His ID font looked off. Before I could answer, rear doors thudded shut. Martin climbed back, gloves now on, faint chemical scent, riding the heater blast. 5 minutes later, the smooth B-road dissolved into gravel. The van jerked, hitting potholes that sent the dashboard hula girl bouncing. Thin mist curled among saplings. Martin's phone pinged. A text flashed on schedule, 45 minutes. He swiped it away. I coughed. Balquidder signposted other way. His shoulders lifted an inch. Temporary route round a sinkhole, he said, like explaining weather to toddlers. Sleet crackled off the windshield. Headlamps picked out a derelict siding shack, painted with forestry hazard stripes. Martin stopped, engine idling. Fuel leak warning, he muttered, stepping out again. Through the fog side glass, I saw him angle the rear door wider. Cold air swept in, carrying the tang of chlorine wipes. Lucy nudged her sketchbook toward me. She'd scribbled run at 30. We counted together under our breath. At 30, we flung the passenger door and bolted left into knee-high bracken. Martin shouted one hard syllable and boots crunched behind us. Lucy's orange scarf caught on gorse. I yanked it free. We ducked between pines weeping ice water. A torch beam skimmed trunks, then another from the far side, 2 flashlights now. Not one. Martin hadn't been alone. The forest floor dipped into an abandoned quarry clearing. Parked beside a rusted excavator sat a black panel van. Engine running, no plates, rear doors open to reveal a silver-insulated cabinet, humming low, blue LEDs blinking. Beside it stood a folding stretcher and a roll of heavy plastic sheeting. Dark shapes, blank shipping labels littered a packing table. Lucy's inhale sounded like paper tearing. A voice from behind us radioed, R2 in position. Assets delayed. Another replied, visual on pair, secondary priority. I tugged Lucy behind the excavator tread. Her phone displayed SOS only. Mine was dead. Upslope. Highway noise sounded distant to the surf. The stand of trees between us and the road looked thin but climbable. We skittered around the quarry rim, trying to stay below rock ledges. Gravel avalanched. Flashlights swung. A warning shot cracked. Their sidearm had a suppressor, but the hump echoed off slate. I remembered tales of organ theft caravans using hiking trails, rumors dismissed as campfire exaggeration. Here was proof breathing down our necks. Ahead, an old service stairway zigzagged to the ridge. We sprinted. Lucy slipped, palms slicing on shale, but she clambered up. Voices called grid references. Our pursuers knew this map better than GPS. The stairs spat us onto the logging track. 30 meters beyond, red taillights glowed through mist where a wood-chip lorry idled, driver inspecting chains. We barreled toward him, waving. The driver, a grizzled man in high vis, saw the flashlight beams chasing, sized up the scene, and yanked his door. Get in. He jammed the cab into gear as Lucy slammed the passenger door. The panel van crested the track mouth. High beams speared us. The lorry driver gunned the throttle, mud spraying. A thud rattled the trailer, maybe a ricochet, maybe a thrown stone. Trees flashed by like fence posts until the headlights behind dwindled to pinpricks. At the Inverglis visitor lot, the driver left us with a first aid kit and a phone that actually caught signal. Police arrived within 8 minutes, blue strobes painting the lock. Officers listened, traded looks, and asked if we wanted ambulances. We signed statements. They drove back toward Balquidder, but called later saying the quarry only held tools and abandoned machinery. No sign of vans. Dashcam from the lorry showed shadowy headlights, nothing readable. Rapid Move Logistics turned out to be a dissolved company number with no forwarding address. Lucy's train app finally refreshed. Southbound service remained suspended, another day signal fault unsolved. We rented a car from Oban, paid cash, and drove under daylight only. The replacement rotors still got to Glencoe. The client never learned what it cost to retrieve them. 3 weeks later, a Highlands Facebook group shared a missing person notice. A backpacker last seen accepting a ride in a white transit near Crianlarich. Comment threads filled with half-whispered tales of shadow vans poaching organs for private clinics. A story locals repeat with a wink you can't parse until the torchlight is on your back. I still hitch when projects strand me, but sunset is a red line now, and every ID badge gets 5 seconds under my flashlight. If the driver's route detours even by 1 kilometer, I bail. The Highlands stay staining. But some roads lose their welcome once the tourists tuck into whiskey bars and the night couriers claim the dark. I learned the hard way that the loneliest stretch of asphalt in New Mexico. I sentiente it all. It just keeps its hunters tucked behind headlights until you stick out your thumb. I'd driven my old Civic from Austin to Los Angeles twice before, always planning fuel stops, like clockwork. Last April, a client needed an emergency network patch in Pasadena, but my engine died outside Tucumcari. The nearest shop ordered a pump that wouldn't arrive for 2 days, and every motel in town was booked by a regional cattle expo. A kid at the garage suggested hitching west to Santa Rosa, grabbing a Greyhound, and coming back when the part arrived. I'd couch surfed in college, thought I knew road smarts, and figured daylight would keep trouble small. So just past noon, I slung a laptop bag over one shoulder, locked the Civic, and walked to the westbound on-ramp of I-40. Heat shimmered above the lanes, grasshoppers ticking in the weeds. For 40 minutes, only semis thundered by. Then a Navy Subaru wagon eased onto the shoulder. Driver's window dropped. A woman about my age, late 20s, hair in a messy bun, nursing scrubs still creased. She smiled, tired but genuine. Headed to Santa Rosa clinic shift, are you good with dogs? A golden retriever's nose nudged the passenger headrest. I nodded and climbed in, relief flooding through me. Her name was Lena Morales. She definished a double in Tucumcari Ia, was covering a night triage because the region stretched thin. We traded graveyard shift jokes. The dog Finch spent 10 miles trying to lick my elbow. It felt as harmless as carpooling with a cousin. 20 minutes later, Lena asked if I minded a quick detour. County Patrol had just blasted an accident alert-rolled truck on an old frontage road. She had trauma supplies in the hatch, and MS was 40 minutes out. I'd worked hospital IT. Pitching in sounded fair. We exited onto a cracked 2-lane paralleling the interstate. Mesquite, barbed wire fence, nothing else. 5 miles in, a tan pickup angled across the road, hood crumpled, hazard lights blinking. Steam hissed from the grill. No other vehicles or skid marks, just tire gouges on sandy shoulder. Lena parked facing out, engine running. Finch whined but stayed in his seat. We hopped down. Dry wind smelled like brake pads. I called out, "Anyone hurt?" No answer. Lena popped the pickup's passenger door. Inside, airbags deflated. Cab empty except for a phone clipped to a mount. Screen dark. She frowned. Keys are gone. She circled the bed, lifting a tarp, corner empty. Something in her posture tightened. Let's go. Back in the Subaru, she locked doors, brow furrowed. She radio scanned local M's. No accident callouts logged. Weird. She U-turned. Finch whimpered, ears flat. I glanced behind. Dust rose from the pickup, its driver's door now ajar. A figure stepped out wearing a dark hoodie despite the heat. He raised a phone, maybe filming, maybe zooming. Lena punched the gas. The wagon fishtailed before gripping pavement. A minute later, headlights flared in the mirror matte black. SUV gaining fast. No plates front or rear. Lena braked hard, swung onto a gravel ranch path bordered by a mesquite. The SUV overshot, skidded, and reversed. Road dust-clouded sunset light like rust smoke. Lena's hands were steady on the wheel. County's got an old way station ahead. If we reach it, radio tower might hit highway patrol. The trail pitched into a shallow arroyo. Corrugated metal buildings appeared abandoned livestock pens. No lights. Lena killed the engine beneath a lean-to. We slid out, ducking low. Finch followed, tail tucked. The SUV idled up the track, beams sweeping. Someone stepped out, scanned with a tactical flashlight fitted under a sidearm, and spoke into a mic clipped to his collar. Subaru located. Package unknown occupant. Lena whispered, "They're not cops." She tugged my sleeve, leading me between stacked feed pallets to a doorway. Inside, moonlight spilled through missing panels, revealing crates labeled Western Bio-Cold Logistics. Dry ice vapor drifted from one cracked lid. A handheld RF reader blinked red on top. Lena thumbed the latch. Inside sat a stainless cylinder padded in foam, frost-rimmed. A barcode sticker read trial batch R42. She exhaled. Hour A. Missing refrigerated meds this week, identical units. She clipped my flashlight to the lid, documenting. SUV doors slammed. Footsteps crunched. 2 men fanned out, one muttering coordinates. Finch growled low. I tried to steady my breathing. Lena pulled a trauma shears from her pocket, looked at the dog, then at me. When I say bolt left, a pallet toppled under her shove, clanging against the floor. She kicked the dry ice crate. Vapor plume hissed across the doorway. The men rushed in, coughing as cold fog curled upward. Finch launched between their knees, teeth bared. Lena yelled, "Now!" I sprinted left, juked past sheet metal bays, and out a side gap onto hard-packed dirt. Gunmetal twilight painted everything flat and eerie. Behind me the first man cursed, slipping on pellets. A radio crackled. Sight breach secure product. White headlights raked the pens. I dove behind the stock chute as a flashlight beam swept by. 2 more SUVs bumped down the trail from the highway. Siege feeling. Lena appeared at a crouch, clutching 2 frost cylinders in a tote. Back fence. We crawled through tumbleweed, Finch zigzagging quiet as he could. Chain link sagged behind the pens. One post leaned enough to crawl under. Beyond lay open plain and the interstate half a mile south, rigs blinking red atop cabs. We belly crept until brush swallowed the corrals. Engines revved behind us. Men shouted grid coordinates. We made the verge of I-40 just as a state trooper cruiser pulled over to check a parked semi. Lena waved both arms, yelling. The trooper turned, hand near his holster, assessing. Before we reached him, black SUVs fishtailed onto the shoulder, then thought better under cruiser's spotlight and roared away eastbound. Lena dropped to her knees, cylinders thudding in dirt. Finch pressed against her. I bent double, lungs on fire. At the station house in Santa Rosa, we gave statements. The trooper radioed Tucumcari Sheriff, but deputies claimed no crash report, no missing pickup, due to cameras, malfunction during the window. The cylinders went to a regional evidence freezer. Chain of custody papers titled them Unidentified Biologic Temperature Sensitive Material. A detective hinted at federal involvement. Greyhound schedules meant 2 hours in plastic chairs. Lena faxed her resignation to the shift already filled due to scheduling software. She texted me 3 days later from El Paso, heading to a clinic in Maine under her maiden name. The dog made the journey fine. My Civic Pump arrived, but I sold the car online and rented instead. Every time I pass a hitchhiker, I still want to stop. Then I taste mesquite dust and see a stainless cylinder exhaling white mist. Now I pull onto the next exit, call a rideshare fund, and hope someone safer gets there first, because hunters still cruise frontage roads staging phantom wrecks, and they bank on helpers with open doors and just enough daylight to believe nothing's hiding inside.